Your coaching career started with a couple of stints in high school, Colleyville Heritage, Irving MacArthur, and then you went to Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma as a quality control coach. A lot of times you'll see that listed on a coaching staff list, but for those who've never coached, what is a quality control coach? What does that job entail?
It's a mystery, Steve. It's in my situation in Oklahoma, I worked on the defensive side of the ball. Brent Venables was our defensive coordinator, and I basically did anything that Brent wanted me to do, and from breaking down opponents to various other projects that he had for me going on around the office. Anything that Brent needed me to do to help us prepare to go and win is what I did. So in many ways, it was very similar to what a graduate assistant coach would do, but it could be different from university to university. And I know quality control, sometimes people wonder exactly what is that. I didn't know what it was when I got to Oklahoma myself, but it was just assisting. In my spot, I was quality control defense. It was assisting Coach Venables in anything he needed to do for us to put the best product we could on the field to go and win, from recruiting to evaluating to identifying players, game planning, all of the above.
It's obviously not uncommon for a coach to go from high school to college or college to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But after your time at Oklahoma, you came back to high school. You went to L.D. Bell High School, 25 miles west of Dallas. What appealed to you about dropping back from the college level to the high school level?
Well, but I've got a heart. I love coaching kids, and I really think, I told my wife before we took this job here at SMU, if I spent the rest of my career at L.D. Bell High School as the head football coach there, I would be extremely happy. If I spent the rest of my career in Division I college football, I'd be extremely happy. If I'm around football and working with young people, that's what I want to do. There are obviously some differences between high school and college football, but both of them are very rewarding in their own way. And I love the high school game, especially in Texas, especially here in the Metroplex. And I've got a lot of great relationships and friendships that I've built in that, and that's very appealing to me. Also, of course, being here, and the draw for me here was Coach Chad Morris. He is the person. The only reason that I came here to SMU was because of him and my belief in him and what he's doing and the direction that this program is going. And he himself spent 19 years as a Texas high school coach, and there's a lot of familiarity there, and there's a lot of things that we can relate to one another with. And I see him and running the program here at SMU, and he's exactly the same as he was at Eustis High School all those years ago. And that's very refreshing for me, and from seeing it, experiencing it at both levels, and to be around someone who operates that way is very refreshing in Division I football.
Coach Morris has said, starting the day he was announced as SMU's head coach, Coach Morris has said he's a high school coach who's coaching at SMU. Do you consider yourself a high school coach still who's at SMU?
No question about it, and I love that. Every time he introduces himself, you always hear him say that I'm a Texas high school football coach, and at heart, that's who he is. And I consider myself the same way. I spent the majority of my coaching career has been coaching high school football here in Texas, and coaching is coaching is coaching. And I think you're around some fantastic coaches when you're a high school coach in this area, and all of the lessons learned there, the things that you have to do on a daily basis to be the best that you can be in this area. You can really hone in on your craft as a high school coach in this area, and I consider myself that, coaching here at SMU, and it's an honor and a privilege to be in this position and working alongside Coach Morris.
You spent a couple of years at L.D. Bell as the defensive coordinator, and then moved up to the head coaching job for 4 seasons. Now you're coming to college as an offensive analyst and recruiting coordinator. Walk through the process. How did you end up here? Did Coach Morris reach out to you? Did you know that he was hired and reach out to him for a spot on the staff? How did it end up that you're now at SMU?
Well, there was, it's everybody's kind of got their own story about how they wind up from place to place. And what I love about Coach Morris is he is a people person, and he really cares about people. And as he was putting together his staff, wanted the best people that were the right fit for this university. And I think that's where I came into place here. Is obviously being a head high school coach in this area was instrumental in that, and I know that Coach Morris wanted to incorporate some high school guys on his staff, and having some experience in the college level obviously helped with that. And the main thing was working with Brent Venables in Oklahoma. Brent was our defensive coordinator there, and Brent is now the defensive coordinator at Clemson. Spent the last 3 years there with Coach Morris at Clemson, and the relationship that I had with Brent and going to visit him there in the summertime at Clemson, and then building a relationship with Coach Morris there, it lent itself very easily when Coach Morris took the job here at SMU. And he reached out to some high school guys within this community. I know Brent was instrumental in helping recommend me to Coach Morris and having a relationship with Coach Morris prior to that, and then the phone calls and exchanging that and talking about the opportunities that were here. It just became very, very obvious to me this is a place where I wanted to be and wanted to be a part of Coach Morris's staff here.
As a wide receiver and kicker at Hardin-Simmons, you played for Randy Allen, an SMU alum who's now the head coach at Highland Park High School. Did you pick his brain at all about the idea of coming to SMU? Did he help recruit you so you're almost down the street from him?
Coach Allen and I, he was my high school coach at Abilene Cooper, and him being right here, right down the road, and he came and visited I've seen him probably a dozen times since I've been here at SMU, and we talk regularly, and he was the main reason that I got into coaching. I did not come from a family where my father was a coach or somebody in my family was a coach, and that kind of steered me in that direction. I had a great experience at Abilene Cooper High School, and it was because of Coach Randy Allen right there. And I saw that's a guy I said, I want to be like that guy. And it was, he was someone I very much looked up to, and was instrumental in helping me in this profession. And I consider him a mentor. I would call him when things would come up in my career, or I encountered certain things, particularly as a head coach, that I hadn't had to deal with before, and reached out to him. I'd come see him in the summertime. We would visit on the phone, and I did call him and talk to him about the opportunity coming over here to SMU, and I knew that he would be just so welcoming to that. And he knows Coach Morris very well, and obviously as a very successful high school coach, he and Coach Morris played games against each other here they battled each other, and so he was very supportive in the decision of coming here, and it sure is a treat to get to spend and hang out more with him now that we're right around the corner.
Another coach who you used to work for, David Beaty, when you were at Irving MacArthur?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Now the head coach at Kansas. Did you ever have in the back of your mind that one day if you got back into college coaching, maybe you'd want to go with him somewhere?
I did, and you never know how things turn out. And of course, David got the job at Kansas right around the time that Coach Morris was getting the job here at SMU. So there was, and I talked to Coach Beaty about different things from time to time as he's been at Rice and Kansas and back to Rice and then at A&M. And we had talked about that, about going and coaching in college and maybe eventually coaching together somewhere. So, and like anything else, like in most businesses, it's about relationships and building those relationships and with certain people. And I enjoyed my time with Coach Beaty when I worked for him at Irving MacArthur, and I know he's going to do a great job there at Kansas. And you never know. I mean, you may end up working with him at some point, but he's a very, very close friend, and I know he's going to do a great job there.
To come to SMU and join this staff, you not only gave up the head coach's whistle at LD Bell, but you also gave up being a member of the board of directors of the Texas High School Coaches Association and president of the North Texas Football Coaches Association. Were those positions as hard to give up as the head coaching spot at the school?
Yeah, absolutely they were. It is being on it was probably the greatest honor in my time coaching high school football in Texas, was being elected to the Texas High School Coaches Association Board of Directors, and that happened this past summer at our coaches convention. And when a group of your peers nominates you and then elects you to represent them in that region, that was just very humbling to me. And that's tough. That's tough to give up, because there's some great coaches and great men that I was very fortunate to be a part of in that. And then also to be the president of the local North Texas Football Coaches Association, and the great coaches. David Beaty was the president of that association when I worked for him at Irving MacArthur. Kenny Perry, who's now working for David at Kansas. Joey McGuire's been the president of that, who's at Cedar Hill. Of course, Bob Wager at Arlington Martin. Just some great coaches that were a part of that, and I consider those guys my best friends. And this is that was a difficult thing to do, but it's all a part of that brotherhood and the camaraderie of the Texas High School Coaches Association. But those are the things that Coach Morris and myself and Claude Mathis are reaching out to and bringing to SMU, and that's why you hear Coach Morris. He's a Texas high school coach. That's how he introduces himself, and myself and Coach Mathis the same way. And we're trying to bridge that gap between this university and that association and this community of coaches.
So now that you're at SMU, you've been here a few months, and you're wearing two hats, as we said, offensive analyst.
That's right.
And recruiting coordinator. Before we get into the recruiting part, from just a day-to-day basis, how is an offensive analyst different from the other assistant coaches on the offensive side of the ball?
That's a unique position, and that's when and Coach Morris is very creative and an outside-the-box thinker. And my background in coaching has been defense. When I started coaching high school football at Colleyville Heritage, I was on the defensive side of the ball. I've been a defensive coordinator. As a head coach, I still ran our defense at LD Bell. Worked for Brent Venables at Oklahoma on defense. Coach Morris wanted me as a defensive-minded coach with my perspective in the offensive staff room. So my role as an offensive analyst is very much to provide feedback with a defensive perspective to what we're trying to do on offense. And Coach Morris wants somebody to kind of be the devil's advocate or to provide different feedback with what the defense may be doing here. If we wanted to run this versus this look, what would be your counter move to that? So I think it's cutting edge. It's something that I'm learning a lot from as well, learning a lot about our offense and how we're doing things that way, but providing that defensive perspective in our offensive staff meeting room, I think is going to be very beneficial to us, helping us win games.
Your other position here, obviously, as recruiting coordinator, even among the coaching staffs that have been at SMU over the past couple of decades, there have been coaches who've said, I want the best recruiter on the staff as the coordinator, and others who say, I want the most organized planner, I guess, for lack of a better term, to be the coordinator. On this staff, what is your primary role as the recruiting coordinator?
Well, really, we've got great people, and we got a great staff that are here. All of our assistant coaches, and from our recruiting operations coordinator to the small army of volunteers that we have that help us in recruiting, and we've got great people here. And everyone, if you're going to recruit well, especially in this state, it takes much more than one person to be able to do that and organize it and to be able to really wrap your arms around it and get everything done that needs to be done. So we've got great, outstanding people here that help out in that. My role, obviously, as a director of recruiting here, is to help in the organization of that from where the guys are on a day-to-day basis. It involves in identifying players, evaluating players, getting the players into our system so that they can be evaluated. And there are many steps and channels that have to go through before a player is going to get an offer from SMU. So, and it's a lengthy, detailed process that is very thorough. And Coach Morris's vision and direction on recruiting is very clear. We want to recruit the very best players that we can get, but we also want them to be of the highest character, to be strong academically that fits the model of this university, and to recruit people that this university is going to be proud of and are going to be great alumni and ambassadors for SMU. So we want to go out and do that. My job is to go out and to fulfill his direction and vision in that, and to work with our staff to go get the very best that we can find to be here.
At some of the previous stops along your career, you were sort of the recruiting guy at some of the high schools where you worked.
Correct.
How did that experience being on the high school side of the recruiting equation help you in your current position as the college guy on the recruiting side?
It's been amazing, just having a different perspective of it. And as a head high school coach sitting on one side of the table and college recruiters coming to recruit my players on the other, and then being on the other side of that now is very beneficial. I've been able to share a lot of things with our coaches here, and just as Coach Morris has from his perspective, the same way, and Coach Mathis. obviously in that same position. I think it's been very good for me. I've been able to share things with our staff, things that I liked that college coaches came in and did when they visited my school, things that I didn't like that they did when they came in. The guys that did it the right way, guys that I saw needed to have some things done differently. The best way to go in and recruit players, and Coach Morris's vision of that is about building relationships, and not only with the players but with the high school coach, with people within that school. So we really focus on doing that. It's a relationship business, and we want to build great, strong relationships. Be honest with people, and we know that good things will come from that.
Your time at University of Oklahoma wasn't that long ago, 2008, 2009. Mm-hmm. But how different is, with the advancement of electronic communication and social media, how different is recruiting now from when you were in Norman?
Steve, it's funny that you mentioned that, and I talk about that all the time. It is so different, even from what it was 6 years ago when I left Oklahoma. It is so different, and social media is really the main reason why. Is that the communication that our staff has with players through Twitter or Facebook or different things like that. That's been the biggest thing, and the ability to get information instantly through that is something that's different. And I think the landscape of recruiting is constantly changing, and we want to be on the cutting edge of everything that's going on out there, and that's our job. We want to do it better than anybody's ever done it before. That's our philosophy, and in everything that we do. So because of that, we want to be on the cutting edge, and I think that you've seen, and the people, our fans, have seen that this staff is very active in recruiting and very active in social media, and that comes from Coach Morris from the top, and we want to provide a great experience for our players when they come and visit our website, when they're on campus, and the things that we provide for them here, the things that we do for our players right here at SMU, and the things that we did for our players that we recruited to at Oklahoma are very different. Just those 6 years has created a lot of that change, but I'm sure they're doing things different now at Oklahoma than they did 6 years ago. But it just shows, how much just a little bit of time, so many things can change, and a lot of it has to do with that technology.
Obviously, to produce great players on the field, you've got to go acquire them. You've got to go recruit them. Mm-hmm. How often do you, as a staff, meet just on recruiting? And who runs those meetings? You as the recruiting coordinator, or Coach Morris?
Coach Morris runs those meetings. Yes, absolutely. And it's but Coach Morris, well, he relies on everybody within the room, but the direction and the vision come from him, and he's so good about gaining input from each of the guys around the staff table, and using that feedback to then go and create the best plan that we can take. I don't have all the answers. Coach Morris will tell you he doesn't have all the answers, and Coach Mathis or Coach Leff. It takes everyone collectively in the room to come together when you're recruiting any particular athlete, or putting together a plan for what you want to go and do. And that's where I think Coach Morris has done a great job of putting together a staff of people who are like-minded, who believe in his vision and his direction, and are going out and fulfilling that on a day-to-day basis. But we meet on recruiting. It depends on the time of the year. Right now, at this time of year, we're doing this interview is during evaluation period. So our coaches are in and out of the office and on the road. So those meetings are being taken place by phone calls daily, emails coming back in. But whenever we're doing in the office, we meet on recruiting once a week, and sometimes those meetings are a lot longer than they are. But if recruiting is a lot like shaving, if you miss it even for one day, you look like a bum. So we're constantly doing something about recruiting every single day. We start our mornings with writing letters to recruits, and we end our days with phone calls with recruits. So recruiting is constantly going on throughout the course of the day, no matter what time of year that is. And we try to maximize every second that we can to get the best players we can get here.
All the coaches have their own geographic region that they recruit. How did you and Coach Morris and everyone divide those? Was it because of previous relationships they have in those areas? Or did you simply decide this coach will work well in that part of the state? This coach, there's a lot of people at his position in that part of the state.
A lot that has to go into consideration for all of those things. You want to maximize your people with the relationships that they have, and we've done that here. Jess Lepp, our corners coach, who'd been a recruiting coordinator at Tulsa, where it came from. Jess really created that map right there with Coach Morris. Before I got here, I was hired on a little bit after they had kind of put that together, and we've tweaked it a little bit to maximize our people in the right places. But it's a great model for the guys that we have on our staff, and it really does take into consideration those things, Steve, that you just mentioned. You know, prior relationships that were already built with coaches. That's critical because this is a relationship business, and you know, that's what we want to do. I want to build a relationship with you for the long term, and I'm going to go and visit you at your school every year, regardless of if you have any players this year or not, because it's about the relationship that I build with you. And so we had coaches that had those relationships. Obviously, Coach Mathis in South Dallas being the head coach at DeSoto, it just makes sense for him to recruit in that area. We've got Coach Archie McDaniel and Coach Van Malone with their backgrounds and growing up and spending a lot of time in the Houston area. It just makes sense that they recruit in the Houston area. So, I mean, it does. Everybody's got a different area. The main two areas that we want to focus on, and from Coach Morris's direction, are DFW and East Texas. So all of our coaches have a DFW area, and they have an East Texas area, and then they have somewhere else within the state of Texas that they recruit. So you'll find each guy on our staff, DFW, East Texas, and then somewhere else in the state of Texas, 3 main pockets that they have that they're in charge of.
Coach Morris was announced as the head coach in the beginning of December,
Mm-hmm.
completed his staff in the first week of January, and a month later you signed a class of 22 scholarship players. Can you sort of describe what that stretch of time was like? Hitting the ground running, getting to know all these people. Obviously you had relationships, you
Right.
and Coach Mathis and Coach Morris had relationships with a lot of coaches, but you had to identify players, you had to get out there and recruit against other schools who may have been recruiting them for months or possibly even over a year. How much did you sleep? Did you see your families? What was that time like?
It's very hectic time, but it's fun. It's exciting, and that's why you do what you do. And we were able to sign 22 players all from the state of Texas and put together the 3rd-ranked recruiting class in the conference in 65 days. That's how many days that we had to recruit. And it's really remarkable when you look back and think of it. But again, I think it speaks volumes for the coaching staff that Coach Morris has brought here and their ability to then go into these schools in a short amount of time, and the relationships that were prior relationships that were already built, and then in a lot of those cases were new relationships that had to be built. But it just shows the impact that the coaches here have had, the recruiting model, and the energy and the enthusiasm that Coach Morris has brought alone to this program carries a lot of weight. And we were able to go get a lot of really quality players that we feel like are going to have an immediate impact on this program in a short amount of time. And now we're just excited once that finished to catch our breath for a second and just imagine what we could do when you've got an entire year to recruit a class instead of just 65 days. So recruiting is going great. We've already got 3 commitments at this point for our 2016 class, and we're excited about the guys that we've got on our board, and we just know that we're going to just continue to build on what we did in those first 65 days.
That's exactly what I was going to ask next. You put together this class in a hurry. Now you've been here a few months, you've had a chance to exhale for just a minute, and you've gotten through spring ball. Have you been able to sort of quantify how much different it's going to be next year when you have a full year of meeting coaches, having them on campus, and start to what the next class may look like?
That's exactly right. And the recruiting plan, the model and the direction, the vision stay the same, but we are able to now focus on building more of those relationships over the long term. When Coach Morris was first hired, as you mentioned before, Steve, they were right over here at the hotel across 75, and I wasn't in the room that night, but I remember they had went down to the business center. I remember him telling the story, and they printed out the district schools right here, the local area, the DFW area, and who was in each district, and that's how they divided up the map right there. And then That's how they just went out and stormed and began recruiting right there. Then I was hired shortly after that, after they began that recruiting. But it was just based on, this district, and this district are going to be covered by you, and this are going to be covered by you. And now we've kind of switched that up a little bit. So some guys, when they first went in and stormed those schools, those first 65 days, are in a different bit of an area, so to speak. So we've been able to kind of go in and streamline that a little bit more. And we really focused on building those relationships over the course of as soon as signing day was done, between then, over the course of spring ball, and now that we're out recruiting here in the evaluation period, is building those relationships, the permanent ones that'll be there with each guy recruiting in the school that they have. So it was a fun 65 days and a whirlwind, and now you really get to sink your teeth in and build those relationships with those guys, and then see where that's going to take us.
You have experience at several different kinds of college programs. You played at Hardin-Simmons, which was an NAIA school when you first got there, and then transferred to NCAA Division III.
Correct.
You coached at Oklahoma, one of the biggest marquee programs in the country. Now you're at SMU. What's the best part about recruiting for SMU, and what are the biggest challenges your staff faces?
The best part about right here at SMU is I think Dallas, Texas. I think there couldn't be a greater city to recruit a young person to. Obviously, the university and its academic prowess that is here is going to create a lot of interest in players. And just a fine university. It's a great city, and going to put a top-notch brand of football on the field. And I think the model has been put in place. Coach Morris has said it many times, the success that Coach Brown has had in basketball. You can compete at a national level at this university, and that's what we plan on doing year in and year out. And everything is in place. The support structure from the athletic director's office, the president, the athletic director's office, to the head coach. It has really become a what do you need to be successful type place. And then we're going to work and do everything that we can do to make that happen. And obviously, coming from my experience at Oklahoma, and then I know Coach Morris, his experience at Clemson, and being at national schools when it comes to football, and then bringing a lot of those ideas and things here to SMU, maybe some of them they haven't done before, that are new to. They've been very receptive, and everything that we've gone and talked to the administration about doing, they've been very willing to do. And you're seeing a lot of that now with the renovation of a lot of our existing buildings. We've got long-term plans to break ground on a new all football facility here, which should schedule to break ground on late next spring. And just doing some things to bring this program from where it is right now to where it needs to be to compete at a national level. And the support that you have, that's all you can ask for. Is you got the support to go and do those things. Then there's no greater city, there's no greater university to bring that to have that kind of success here than right here at SMU.